decided you go to adopt, bring it to your universe?
Only women. No, I don't want to adopt any other superheroes. I like the ones we've got.
What do you guys think of the ones he's got?
Thank you, culture lovers.
Yes, next question.
Hi, my name is Justin Merlin. This is a dream come true for me. My question is, what is, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what is your favorite movie that's been made?
My favorite one.
Favorite movie in the Marvel Universe?
My favorite hero in the Marvel Universe?
And favorite film?
Favorite film? You know, that is so difficult. I am the biggest fan of the Marvel films. I love them all. And maybe, I think the first Captain America. Because I loved the way they showed Chris Evans, his face on a very young little guy. And then when he became Captain America, with the same face. I mean, that photography, that special effect was wonderful. And I thought it was so dramatic the way he threw himself on what he thought was a grenade about to explode. And they realized he's the guy who will make Captain America, because he's right, you know. So yeah, I like Captain America. But I love what power would you want? I thought about it a little, and I finally came up with the answer. If there was such a thing, I would like perfect good luck. Because if you're lucky, you can accomplish anything. And if a bad guy shoots you, his bullet will miss. Whatever, I mean, nothing bad could happen, and everything good could happen. And you may say, well, why haven't you ever done a superhero who's lucky? It's because I can't find any reason to put him in a costume. And fans of superheroes love superheroes who wear costumes. But you may wonder why his body is green. When we started the thing, when I came up with the idea, I wanted to get a monster who was a good monster, because it came from the Frankenstein movie, if you remember that one with Boris Karloff. I always thought the monster was the good guy. He didn't want to hurt anybody, but these idiots were always chasing him up and down the hill with torches. So I wanted to get a monster who's misunderstood. So I came up with the Hulk. Now, the problem I had was, I knew our readers love costumes. If a hero didn't have a costume, they were bored with him. And I found that out with the Fantastic Four. They said, we like the Fantastic Four, but we'd like them to have costumes. So anyway, I thought, how can I get a monster to wear a costume? And I figured the only thing similar, I would give him different color skin than anybody else. It would be like a costume. So I decided I'd make his skin very gray. I thought that would look kind of ominous. And in the first issue, those of you who've seen issue #1 of the Hulk, his skin is gray. But the printer couldn't handle gray well. In one page he was light gray, in one page he was dark gray, in one page he was black, in one page he was white. I said, this will never do. Now, when you're an editor, you're very powerful. So I called the printer and I said, I want a different color for the Hulk. And I thought, what color is nobody using? And at the moment, I couldn't think of any green characters. So I said, make the Hulk green. And they were able to print green pretty consistently throughout the book. And now you know, and only you, nobody else, knows why the Hulk is green and not gray today. Speaking of that,
How did you come up with Spider-Man?
with great difficulty. Have I told you the story of how Spider-Man came to be? I know I was here last year, I don't want to repeat myself. But if I didn't tell it, leave the room for a minute. What happened was, we had done a few characters. We did the Fantastic Four, and I forget who else we did. And my publisher walked in one day and he said, Stan, I'd like you to come up with another new hero. So I went home and I started thinking about it. It's not that easy. The first thing you have to do is come up with a power. What new superpower would I give a guy? And I saw a fly crawling on the wall. And I said, wow, wouldn't it be something to have a hero that could stick to walls like an insect? I said, did I say, wouldn't it be cool? If I said that, I lied to you because they didn't have that word. I probably said, wouldn't it be groovy? But anyway, okay, I decided what the superpower would be. So now I had to figure out what else is there about him? What's his name? So I didn't like Fly Man. I thought Insect Man, nah. Mosquito Man, nah. And then I got to Spider-Man. Oh, it sounded so good. So I figured just to make him more different, I'd make him a teenager. And then I'd give him a lot of personal problems like all teenagers and everybody has. Not enough money, can't get the girlfriend, things like that. So I ran into my publisher and I told him about it. I was so excited. And my publisher, in his infinite wisdom, said to me, Stan, that is the worst idea I have ever heard. He said, first of all, you can't call him Spider-Man because people hate spiders. Nobody would buy the book. Secondly, you can't make him a teenager. Teenagers can only be sidekicks. And you want him to have personal problems? Don't you know what a superhero is? They don't have problems. So I walked out of the office feeling not my best. But I couldn't get Spider-Man out of my mind. So we had a book we were going to kill called Amazing Fantasy. Now, when you're killing a book, nobody cares what you put in the last issue. So just for fun, I got Steve Ditko to draw a Spider-Man story for me. And I featured it on the cover of Amazing Fantasy, which was the last issue. About a month later, after the sales figures had come in, my publisher ran into my office. My office, it was like a big overgrown closet. And he said, Stan, do you remember that character Spider-Man that we both liked so much? He said, let's turn him into a strip, because it turned out that that book we were going to kill with Spider-Man on the cover was the best-selling book they had that whole month. And that's how Spider-Man became a character. For some reason. And when he was in Norway, he was doing something good. I forget what it was, but he saw this hammer lying in the woods somewhere. You couldn't see it, it was concealed, but he had bumped into it. And there was a sign that said something like, only someone who's pure of heart and deserving, blah, 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 can lift this hammer. And there were guys chasing him, and he needed a weapon. So he reaches down, and he lifts up the hammer, and the minute he does, he turns into Thor. And the cane had become a hammer, and when he goes back to New York City, he's got the cane, but anytime he taps it, it can turn into the hammer, and he turns into Thor. They left all of that out in the movie, which is fine, because it's too complicated anyway. And I forgot what your question is, and I'm rambling on in this. I like the one in the Fantastic Four where I couldn't go to the wedding because they didn't believe I was Stan Lee. And I like the one in Iron Man where Tony Stark, I'm standing with three sexy-looking blondes all around me, my arm around all of them. And Tony Stark walks by and he says something like, way to go, F. And I can tell you a funny thing about that. Originally, I had a pipe in my mouth because the director thought Hefner always had a pipe. So I had a pipe in my mouth. And then he said he wants these three blondes to stand around me with my arm around them. So I had my arms around these three girls. And when Tony Stark walks by and says, way to go, F, or whatever he said, I turned around to look at him. But I had the pipe in my mouth, and I almost knocked the tooth out of the girl next to me. So you may wonder when you see it again, but you'll see I'm not using a pipe. He is so good at Tony Stark. I ever cast more perfectly than Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. He couldn't be better. And he's also a hell of a nice guy.
And my other question is, what does it mean to be worthy, to be able to lift Thor's hammer? Because it would seem like Captain America should be able to.
He almost did.
I heard Spider-Man could, so.
Oh, you have to have a noble heart, a clean mind. I don't know, my God. You gotta be a hero. You gotta be a hero. I'm not heroic enough to know, because this will surprise you, but I am not able to lift Thor's hammer. I can lift one of Hawkeye's arrows, barely.
Thank you.
How do you feel about the direction it's moving? How do you feel about how they're buying back all the movie rights? How do you feel about the choices they're making?
Actually, I haven't left Marvel. I have this fancy title of the Chairman Emeritus, whatever the hell that means. But I'm still part of Marvel, and as far as the direction they're going in, I hate to have to tell you this. I hate the fact that this situation exists, but my eyesight has really become pretty bad. You know, I'm not as young as I used to be, and I'm not able to drive a car anymore because I don't see that well, and I'm not able to read the comics. So as of the past 2 or 3 years, I really haven't read any comics. People tell me or try to tell me what's going on. So it's hard for me to answer what I think of the direction Marvel has taken, because I'm not quite sure. I think that they're trying to make as many changes as they can. I think they have a female Spider-Man now, or something like that. I don't know.
They have like 3 of them.
But you must understand, if you were the editor of a bunch of books that have been on sale for, let's see, if this thing started in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, for more than half a century, you say to yourself every day, what can we do to make the readers surprised, to make them want to read more? Or else it's the same thing over and over again. And they're deathly afraid that after a while people will say, I've read that before. So they're always trying to come up with new things. And luckily the movies have helped tremendously. These movies have been so great and done so well that ever since they've come out, the comics are selling better. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm not a good person to comment about any new changes they're making. All I know is a number of the books seem to have me on the cover, because I've signed a lot of them. I don't know how I got there, but what the hell. I'm a fan of everything. I really am. Anything that's imaginary, anything that's exciting, anything that has surprises that you didn't expect. I love comics. I read comics before they were, you know, when they were in the newspaper years ago, before they even had comic books. Because I love drawings and art and words put together. Now, in the beginning, I'm sorry, I'll ramble on for a minute. Years ago, parents didn't like their children to read comics. They felt they're not using their imagination. They should read a book and imagine what the characters are like. And I used to speak at teachers' meetings, and I would say, look at Shakespeare. He wrote plays. People would go to the theater and see the play, Hamlet or Julius Caesar. Some parent might say, I don't want my child to see it in the theater. I want him to just read it. So it doesn't make sense. There's nothing nicer than being able to read a story and see the characters, and that's what movies are. You're seeing the story while you're hearing it. And I'm talking too long, and what's the question?
And you have the distinction of the final question, so it better be good.
Best Father's Day present ever from my wife. First of all, Mr. Lee, I have to thank you for being the narrator of my childhood and so many others here in this room, hearing your voice on Saturday morning cartoons, seeing you introduce so many comics. So thank you for that.
You are very nice.
And now, in some of the more recent Marvel movies, we've seen the comeback of some pretty obscure characters like Rocket Raccoon and Howard the Duck, slowly finding their way into the modern Marvel movies. Are there any other older, obscure Marvel characters that you'd like to see sneak into some of the new flicks?
Well, I don't know that they're obscure. I can't wait for the Black Panther to come along. We'll be working on him. Doctor Strange. The Inhumans. And they're all going to come along. So it's exciting. I can't wait to see them all. And to have my cameo in them, of course.
But we can't talk about that because it hasn't happened yet.
I'm not describing them.
I guess we have come to the end. City of Houston, all of us here today, thank you for everything you've given us. Everybody, Mr. Stan Lee.
No, I want to thank you. You couldn't be a better audience. You couldn't have given me a happier half hour. I love you all. Oh, and I almost forgot. Excelsior!